When we even talk about soul, self, spirit, and so on, we are actually conditioned by theological interpretations of those things. So it would be wonderful in a perfect world if we could look at these words, you see, without that baggage. But given that we can't and we just have to use those terms, then the only thing I could say is that the soul has been presented to us as if it's something we're given at the time of birth. This is all over the world. Religion, you're born as a human being and you have that spark of God, and you can lose your soul. Right? If you don't do the right stuff, you know, he's lost his soul, or this person. And even I use those. You know, we slip into this. We use these types of terms. Actually, we're not even really right at all. The psychologist Thomas Szasz said it in one sentence. He said, the soul is not something that you find or that you have been given. It is something that you create. Once you truly understand this principle, the whole perception of yourself and your life and your purpose on this life and your relationships with other people will fundamentally change for the better. Even though it sounds as heretical as you could get. But we need to grow up. The human race needs to now wake up and grow up and get it. Because the world is moving already. You're going to get this whether you like it or not. These concepts are going to be taught to us through, you know, being dragged or you can accept it. But if you accept that the soul is something you are creating and you are the sole creator of it and you create it in what we call life through experience, a different kind of gratitude, a different kind of reverence arises. And also what arises, well, it helps us with that whole thing of separating ourselves from the crowd, which I said was important earlier. That's one of the things that will really help you do that. And secondly, what it really means is that no one else can really help contribute to that. Because of course that person has to deal with developing their soul, which is different from yours. So immediately you've broken this consensus trance. You may look to other people as guides, as I do. I've got my heroes, I've got my, you know, mentors, but I realize that they're guides. The teaching doesn't belong to them. They can't territorialize it. You know, but they may present an aspect of the teaching, you see. Just like, you know, the facets of a diamond, you know, reflect different aspects of light. So that's okay, that's fine. They're presenting their cuisine in a different way, you know. But never lose sight of the fact that you are in the very process of creating your soul, and the agonies that you feel and the sorrows and the feelings of loss and the euphoria that you feel and the ecstatic and the peak experiences and the relationship that you have with music and with animals and nature and human beings. All of this is you taking that lump of clay that was given to you and trying to turn it into this beautiful thing of your own creation. What most people have done, it just underlines what we've been talking about, is they go, oh, I can't be bothered with all that, getting the hands dirty. I'll stand back and bring in an expert. He's a good sculptor, let him try it. Or, hey mate, can you do it? They go, oh sure. And everyone is modeling everybody else's clay. And that's the pigsty that we're in right now. Nobody is doing everything. So what you basically have is this hideous, abstract thing, ready for the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art, by the way. Some hideous monstrosity, like something out of Alien, the movie, of this, you know, distorted, multifaceted, you know, papier-mâché thing that's got everybody's stamp on it. You know, I pointed out at the conference that there's this logo downtown that says, I am what I am because of everyone. It's on some, you know, corporate logo. This is what is being pushed. And basically, we can collude in that by saying, oh, that's just too much work, all that shadow work, soul work, oh, dude, you know, let the religious priest do it. Let me be guided by a strict set of fixed codes. And then I have a fixed heaven waiting for me. I have a savior that can be accepted by all. Or no, I'm an atheist, a scientist, I deal in facts. Even though philosophers like David Hume have said the entire basis of science, which is causality, is utterly a hypothetical construct of the mind. Right? Well, we don't want to mention that, right? So, you know, this process of leaving other people in control, abnegating your own control, and then everybody doing it to everyone is where we are now. They call it multiculturalism, global diversity, you know, they've got all these wonderful terms for it. And it's all based, as I said, as was the Calvinist model, as is this Pavlovian behaviorist model, as is most religious models, including Scientology and Masonry and all of the things that you're seeing in the world, all the things we try to deal with in our work. It's all to drag you away from selfhood. And I've decided in my work to start talking about this because otherwise you're just a basher. You're just, hey Michael, you know, you critique this, you critique that, you know, and a lot of people do this. And it's fine. It has its place. But very importantly, you have to start saying, I'm pointing out the deconstructive stuff here that you need to be aware of, but you have to sort of offer something to replace that. Yeah. That's a very crucial aspect of this. Otherwise, it sort of becomes just finger pointing, which is only about 50% of the problem. Well, we plan to do continue the architecture control. Well, I mean, there's many things going on, but we can plan to continue that, and then we'll get all this positive feedback about it. It really opened a lot of doors, so now we're really enthusiastic about it. We've been filming all over the world with great, in fact, here in Bath and England, hoping to use a lot of this imagery. And basically just continue this whole novel connection between psychology and conspiracy, so that people are brought up to speed on this. Because again, you have to remember that people don't have the 30 years, that I've put in, or other teachers have put in, scholars, researchers. We have so much meltdown in the world, and people have little time, but they also have the great passion to learn this at the same time. So they're kind of in a bit of a quandary. So I'm very conscious of that, and we try to put the DVDs together, and the books and websites and forums and things, and interviews and so on, so that people can sort of in a compressed, quick way, get hold of some of these very, very esoteric matters. And get hold of it, because they do have the passion, they really do, and they love it. So we're hoping to continue that series and other things as well, through the different months and years, and work on other projects. And for me, it's fundamental to never lose sight of this, a concept of how selfhood is important in this, how consciousness, how shadow work, fits into all of this, and basically the power of consciousness itself. That you can change your reality based on the way you think and your attitude, as long as you use these principles, philosophical and psychological principles. Then you have nothing to fear, because you will be in your center, and no matter what kind of meltdown happens around you, you will be guided. Not by some hidden mysterium behind the clouds, but an inner voice. Children have it. We used to have it. It is innate within us, and so this is all about doing that. Is making a human being take absolute control and dominion over their own life, and that's goes through stages. You don't get it right away. It has its own process. And the works that I create, the films I'm doing, really try to focus on this as much as possible. Yeah, I love it. Dangerous Man. That suits me down to the ground. This is the kind of work I'm really suited for, so that's an apt title for me, all right. Or is it that famous line, "I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. My life is my own." And my personal favorite is, "Everyone votes for a dictator." But anyway, I'd like to finish with a quote from Karen's wonderful book. And forgive me if you've heard this before. I just think it needs to be reread. And it's from Aldous Huxley, from Brave New World Revisited, and it's this: "It is perfectly possible for a man to be out of prison, and yet not free, to be under no physical constraint, and yet to be a psychological captive, compelled to think, feel, and act as the representatives of the national state or of some private interest within the nation wants him to think, feel, and act. The nature of psychological compulsion is such that those who act under it or under constraint remain under the impression that they are acting on their own initiative. The victim of mind manipulation does not know that he is a victim. To him, the walls of his prison are invisible, and he believes himself to be free. That he is not free is apparent only to other people, because his servitude is strictly objective." Anyway, again, thanks for being here, and thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the conference. I think, Karen, did you have